Hello, everybody. It is Pundit's Pundit, your favorite show on South Florida Tribune. If you missed it, catch it next time. And I'm going to turn it all over to Mr. Denzel Snipes.
All right. Hey, everybody, welcome, and you're back with another episode of the Pundit's Pundit. I got myself here. We've got Candy Bar up top. We've got a returning Rocky Mountain Rebel, and we have the pundit himself. I can't point the right way. There we go. He's right here, you guys. Y'all can take
and what is that noise?
I think there's Jordan. Jordan's all frozen. You might have to.
Am I?
I thought Jordan had like a dog in the background.
It sounded like it. But everybody, you're checking us out on the South Florida Tribune on Facebook, also on YouTube, as well as on Twitter. And also, you can now catch us on iHeartRadio as well as Spotify. Yes, I had a trip out of town, and the whole time I was listening to the Pundit's Pundit on Spotify. So it's great for long or semi-long or really long road trips. So be sure and you check us out on there as well. So without further ado, I want to get the party started with our pundit points. And if you don't mind, I would like to kick this one off because I got a pretty good one. And that is for my pundit point, and he's become somewhat of a favorite of mine in the last few weeks, and that's Colorado's cornerback / wide receiver, Travis Hunter. Let me tell you something. This man played 129 snaps in the game at TCU. These were his stats. On offense, he had 11 receptions for 119 yards. On defense, he had 1 interception, 3 tackles, and a pass breakup. He is the first Division I player in the last 20 seasons to have 100-plus receiving yards and a pick in the same game. This is the throwback to the Iron Man ball. So to all y'all kids at home that know nothing about this, there was a point in time where, I don't know, half, if not most of the squad played 2 positions. Usually 1 offense, 1 defense. Now, somewhere along the lines of history, there was another Colorado Buffalo named Cordell Stewart who played 2 positions, but he played 2 on offense. And then also you had guys like Charles Woodson who also played both ways, but he was known primarily as a defender. But sometimes they insert him in at wide receiver. You got those kind of sprinkled throughout history. I know a long, long time ago, that was a lot of people that played like 2, 3, 4, 5 different positions, right? Even kicker and punter. Listen, here's the deal. This is the old school football that people were talking about. The only thing, and not only that, but it's also a throwback to Deion himself because he's known as a defender and also as a returner. But if you recall,
wide receiver,
every now and again, they would put him in at wide receiver. They would. You know, a lot of those players are inspired by Deion Sanders and what he brings to the game. And a lot of critics out there are going to sit there and say, oh, we're talking about him too much and whatnot. Let me tell you something. We're happy that he's finding success. We're happy that he is able to turn programs around seemingly where he goes. Now, I know that the jury's still out for this season, okay? And I get that. And you know what? I think Deion Sanders actually has a little bit harder than everybody else because he's not like any other coach, you know, maybe starting in the SEC or something. I want you all to keep in mind, this man has to play the Pacific 12, turn right around next year and play the Big 12. So it's not like he can't get adjusted to these teams he's playing right now, you know? So if it's anyone who's been having to be a chameleon of sorts these last you realize in 3 seasons, Deion Sanders will see 3 different conferences. Name any other coach in the nation that's doing that.
Yep.
You see? But no, hats off to Travis Hunter, bringing back that old school ball. Only thing about it is in today's game, which has seemingly gotten more dangerous, Isaiah needs to watch himself, and I hope Deion Sanders is monitoring him and not exactly put him in too much harm's way. If the kid's getting a little nicked up, bring him out, you know, have him get a rest. If he gets injured, you know, treat it as such. But hats off to Travis Hunter. All right, Jordan, what do you got?
So I know you guys are going to talk about this next week, but meltucker left the University of Colorado at the end of 2019, his only season. He went 5-7, went to Michigan State, basically at midnight, telling everybody, oh, I'm going to stay in Colorado. Obviously, he left for his dream job. Well, he's in hot water because he brought in basically a rape victim, Brenda Tracy, to actually talk to his team about, inappropriate touching and her story. Well, apparently he did some inappropriate things. I'm not going to get into detail because there's a lot of details that are still being worked out. But honestly, if he did what he said he did on the phone with her, then he should be fired. There's no case for him to stay at as the University of Michigan State or Michigan State University head coach. There's just no excuse for what he did. Again, look up the story to find out more. Of course, you guys are going to talk about it more next week.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And this one here certainly have been making the waves in the past week. And so, Candy, on you. What do you got?
We celebrated or we remembered 9/11 this week, which was a historic, a horrible event. What I wish, though, is that what happened on 9/12, the unity of the nation came together. It didn't matter what color you were, what race you were, or anything like that. We were Americans. I wish we would get back to all of us being Americans and respecting everybody. That's what I got.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Jacob Christener. What do you got?
JT O'Sullivan, QB school. I've told this to Denzel a little, and I'm going to give this part of the story. I love listening to his videos, parts of them at least. I'll give you why. Because he really does have a knowledge of, 12 years in the league. You know what I'm saying? In the NFL, been through the CFL, been through all of these places. But he's saying something that's really driving me up the wall, and he's being an idiot about it. I've told this to you, Denzel. He keeps saying 7-person protection. 7-person, not 7-man. 7-person. And then finally he calls me an ass. Well, okay, I expect that. I call him woke. He's an idiot. Go back and forth with all the third grade stuff. But he would say, I work with women. I work with women coaches. Good for you. I'm glad. And there are women coaches. They know what they're, you know what I'm saying? They know what they're doing. You know what there still is out there? 53 men. 53 men on there. And I hope there isn't women that go on that football field and go get themselves killed. At this point, it's 53 men on a roster in the NFL. Times 32 teams. Let's just do the math later. You know what I'm saying? Let's do that's like 1,600 some odd players. But I'm saying, let's do the thing later. Men. That means 7-man protection. And you are doing the 7-person protection because you don't want to offend the female coaches. Any coaches that are offended by something like that are looking to be offended in the first place, JT. There's men out there. And the problem I have with all of this is you are not only, you are downsizing the idea of man, you're also downsizing the idea of woman by using the term person. And so much of media does it. Coco Gauff just did. We're going to talk about her with all everything there. We're going to talk about her thing. She said, I'm just looking to be a good person instead of a good woman. They're saying things like this. Every man out there is like, I'm just trying to be a good person. They are downsizing the idea of gender. Both genders have specific strengths that can be a great team together. They do. And the idea of something like this has got to stop. We got to stop listening to news. We got media. Everybody that calls them, I want to be a good person. Here's the thing. Boys need to be made into good men. Girls need to be made into good women. That's where the thing goes. So when you're downsizing this, JT, it's why I'm after this crap. When you downsize the idea of gender, you're bringing the whole idea there and you're making the thing worse. You're making the things kind of like Mexican. The Mexicans Mexicans don't do this. They hate this. But the LA Times calling them Latinx instead of Latino, Latina. We're doing this on the whole thing of gender. It's got to stop. You may not be meaning to do it, or you're trying to not offend the women coaches. Big deal. There's still men out there. Acknowledge them. Quit following along with the media. They're just trying to take the whole idea of I don't want to offend. It's got to stop.
Yeah, It does. You remember the meme that I sent you earlier
Mhm.
of the tweet where the girl said, "You know what? Stop calling babies him or her
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they can't physically talk yet, so they can't
Identify
speak
themselves.
on
Yeah.
what gender they wish to identify
Yeah.
as.
No,
Refer
that's a
to them
legit
as their
tweet. That was
toddler
a
self."
legit tweet.
Yeah, and I know the look on your face, Candy. I know, you know what I mean. Like it's stuff like this. You know what I mean? It's stuff like this, and this is what happens when you. And it's an unfortunate society we live in. It's what happens when you give just any old body a platform. You know, but the crazy part is, what are you gonna do about it? Because you know, if if you restrict them from it, then it's like, oh, well, now you're taking away their free speech, which could backfire, very well backfire. So the thing about it is you got to kind of let them run their mouth, and then if you get the opportunity, you want to engage in just a conversation with them about it, then so be it. But it's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that is the pro and the con of free speech. Pro, you can say whatever you want. Con, anyone can say anything they want to you.
And I'll say this. This is the thing what we got to stop right now. And this is the whole thing. I don't want to offend. That's their whole point. No, if they're offended, too bad. Because here's the thing. If we go out and say slurs, that's our stupid. That's ours. That's our hate. Our fault. If we go out and act legitimately misogynist, that's our fault.
Right.
That we're just stupid. It's not 1956. You've got to end that whole thing. If we are legitimately being that, yes. But guess what? Saying boys and girls is not offensive. Saying that it's a 7-man protection is not offensive. If someone's offended by that, then they can be offended more. Then it got to get to the point where you don't care anymore. Because then the more that don't care anymore, we can get over the stupid and start getting a conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's pretty much a pick and choose kind of thing, because whenever they do things like this, they are protecting a certain entity. It's about protecting them and coddling them. Oh, but guess what? Jerry Jones can say, if blacks don't like it here in the NFL, they can go and buy their own team. They can certainly say thugs instead of the N-word whenever someone gets roughed up by the police that happens to be my color and they're innocent. Yeah, they don't protect us. Trust me, it is a selective agenda, a very selective agenda.
And I'll say this, and I will say this. We'll go into this. We will go into this whole deal probably the next week, or however much,
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably gonna be a topic next week. But I will say this part: you better bring in proof. You better have tape on what they said, or those billionaires will break him.
Yeah.
And you don't come out and say something. I mean, I'm not saying that he wasn't right. I'm saying come out with proof, or they will destroy him.
Right.
And that's just the way they go.
Because even then, people protect billionaires. Yeah. No one cuts for billionaires more than thousandaires. Y'all have heard me say it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, hundredaires.
and even hundredaires too. But with that being said, we'll go on to our first topic here, and this is an interesting one. George Kirby and the victimhood process among Gen Z. So I actually hadn't heard anything about this, and then I did my due diligence on this one. So apparently on September the 8th, in a game against the Tampa Bay Rays, he entered the 7th inning with a pinch count of 90 and a 4-2 lead. 12 pitches later, he gave up the game-tying home run. He would later on go on to say after the game out of frustration that he wished that he was lifted prior to the 7th inning, but then he was demolished by social media and former players, calling him the poster child of the modern game. So I'm going to start it off with Jordan on this one, and your thoughts about this whole thing. Do you feel like do you think that his feelings were valid, or are you a little bit more old school and you're like, oh, he's being a baby, or however you might think about it?
I look at it this way because I read in the story he had 90 some pitches in the 7th inning. Now going into that inning, I don't know if he was showing signs of being tired or not, but apparently once he gave up all those runs, he was tired. But that's not his decision to be lifted. That's the manager. That's what they get paid for. I just think it's a lot of, basically crying, just saying, oh, I should have been lifted. Well, that's not your choice. You had the lead. They wanted to keep you in so you could keep the lead and possibly win the game. Yes, you were at 93 pitches, but you know what? You're in September where you want to pitch in these, big games. You failed. Just leave it as that. He didn't have to say his comments. I just think it's a lot of, I would say a poor sport by him.
Yeah, and a great commentary on that one because, well, let's just say he closes it out. He doesn't give up that game-tying home run. He gets yanked in like the 8th. They come in and make the save. He gets the win. Well, this is a non-conversation, really.
Exactly.
I'm gonna swing over to Candy and get your thoughts about this topic.
My thoughts are he should never have said that to the media. If he truly didn't feel that he could pitch in the 7th, he should have gone to his manager and said, you know what? I'm tired. My arm feels like jello. I'm not going to be effective. Please take me out and put somebody else in. That's what he should have done. Not after the game, after he had given up runs, cried to the media and said, oh, he should have pulled me. I don't think I needed to go out there anymore. What? Wait a minute. That's your job. You are paid to pitch. Now, again, if you were tired and you didn't have it in you, go to your manager and tell him that. I don't know when you'll be back out on the mound, but go and tell him that.
Yeah.
Don't tell the media.
No, don't tell. And the biggest thing that stood out, I'm glad you said it the way you did, because the biggest thing that stood out about what he said and about your commentary is by saying that to the media, guess what you just did? You just threw your manager under a speeding bus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and we always tell coaches and other players not to do that to other players. And here you are doing it to your manager. That's a bad look. I think off that alone, who knows when you'll see the mound again. Mm-hmm. But I want to round this out with Jacob Christener and get your thoughts about this one.
This is the big problem with analytics is you're now making these kids believe they need to be out of there in the 7th. It's like Mark Mulder went after George Kirby, the old Cardinal. Mm-hmm. He went after George Kirby. And he was saying it's like he's completely correct on it. You couldn't have pried that ball out with a jackhammer out of his hand, unless or he was hurt so badly. Mark Mulder was a really good pitcher too, by the way. And you couldn't have pried. And it's like, and then right afterwards, George Kirby, like the next day, I didn't mean to say that. You'd have to pry the ball out of my hand, like in such a nonplussed way, But see, this is the problem. And see, this is the problem that I have, though, with the way that the scouts are bringing these pitchers around. Everybody's got to have 97 to 100, 95, 88 miles an hour with a curve, every pitch. You got to have everything, all power, then you're out in 6. And it's like they're all looking for something like that. If you're going to be this way, and stuff like that, you want longer, why aren't you getting more Kyle Hendricks or Justin Steeles?
Right.
Selective placement pitchers that are that kind of deal. Why aren't you doing that? Instead, you're going for these blowouts, and some of them don't even make 5. They're blowing their thing. The thing is, now we're getting 5 innings is a decision. Obviously, we're going to get to the point where they may change it to 4 1/3, 4 2/3, or if they don't change it, we're not going to see a lot of decisions. We don't see complete games much anymore. We may not see decisions much, just because of stupid analytics. And it's like analytics. It's because of what was that movie with the Brad Pitt, Moneyball.
Moneyball, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's because of that. And the thing, yes, you want to use those situations in time, but see, Moneyball and analytics are like politics. At some point, you want to use them. At some point, you want to use them as a conversation tool of what you get. But at some point, common sense hits. Mm-hmm. If it's someone's in the 9th, and they're at 73 pitches. Oh, my God, it's the 9th. Pulling them out should not even be a thought. But it's become a thought. I mean, but David Ross has done it twice this year with someone at 78 pitches.
Frambler Valdez had a no-hitter in under 100 pitches.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he had that, and he did it. I mean, Ross pulled out of one or no-hitter at 78.
Yeah.
He's done it twice this year. And it's like, common sense got to hit sometime. Common sense has got to hit sometime because I don't see I do not see the players' unions getting mad if they get mad over 85 pitches. I see them get mad at 120 or 30, but none of these are anywhere close to 120 or 30. We are literally coddling them, making them like mother's the baby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and stuff like that. No, can't go into the woods. No, don't scrape yourself. No, I mean every little detail. At some point, they got to scrape their knees a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to get to this thing. But really and truthfully, we don't have a situation where they know how to take pain anymore because of all of this. And it's like at some point you got to get there.
When a pitcher's hot, you're hot. Leave them in. Like, I don't get that pulling them out that early.
Well, they've lost some games. They've lost games because of it.
Well, and I think managers, like Jacob was saying, is use the analytics too much when you're at a low pitch count because they're thinking, oh, we can get the win with other pitchers. About 10, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have this conversation, but we are now because of the fact that we have analytics, we have better scouting reports.
Yeah, but see, the thing about scouting reports, though, Jordan, and that's true. The one thing about scouting reports, though, is the fact that in the end, 3 out of 10 is still really good in baseball. It means you have 7 chances to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't care if it's Shohei Ohtani, who's 303 right now. Shohei Ohtani has nailed you, but he's still out 7 times out of 10. And these are the things, these are decisions to make, and it's understood, but we've got to get yourself. It's like I said, it's like, analytics are like politics. We got to get yourself to the point where you just got to have a simple thing of gut feeling and common sense.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to allow that. And it's like, it's just like, oh my God, that's kind of like, oh my God, you're saying 7-man rotation, evil, 7-man protection, evil. They're men. It's the same thing. There's 85 pitches out there. He's getting that. And guess what? You let him out, and guess what? 2 starts later, he has to go off the mound in 3 because he's hurt his elbow and he's out for the year. And that's happening a ton. Mm-hmm. We're not allowing them to stretch their arm at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to move on to our next topic here. And bringing light, I guess, light to the conversation a little bit. Michael Irvin is back, y'all. He's back. You all have seen him go head-to-head with Stephen A. Smith on various topics on First Take, particularly about his Dallas Cowboys. But he is now joined.
I'm going to get those Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. you can hear him grumbling on Fox Sports 1 also. He's joined the cast of Undisputed. He made his return on August 2023 to television. Jordan, your thoughts on this?
I honestly like listening to Michael Irvin. He has really great insight in the game. He obviously played it. I just don't understand. I mean, I saw what he was accused of, and it's awful. For those of you that don't know, he filed a $1 million lawsuit against 6 others for defamation and serious interference in a relationship after a female accused him of making lewd and inappropriate comments at a hotel. I don't know if those were obviously true or not, but obviously it's good enough for him to be accused, but obviously he's back, so everything's been settled. I do like Michael Irvin. I think he can really go toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith and all those other guys because he is a really big personality, and I actually enjoy listening to his insight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder how it's going to be from now on because you know what? Because on the opposite side, there always was Shannon Sharp, who was like anti-cowboy, but now you have 2 pro-cowboy one's on the other side, on opposite sides. But it's just the question is what are they going to fight about? Is one going to like argue for Dak Prescott versus against, or for the defense versus against, or just have different? Or when the Cowboys lose, they're going to argue about why they lost and lose their minds. Because let's face it, I've seen Cowboys fans hate other Cowboys fans. And that's just amongst the common fan base. But I want to swing it over to Candy and get your thoughts on Michael Irvin returning to television.
He is such a character, and he brings with him an audience, let's face it, because these big characters, these big personalities bring money into that network, which is actually good for the game. Let's face it. He settled the lawsuit, doesn't say exactly what, all came out of it or anything like that. It just settled. If it's settled, it's done, it's over with. Both parties agreed, and they're moving on. So why shouldn't he move on and come back to the NFL network and, give his, like Jordan said, he's got great insights. He played the game. Most, not all, but most NFL players or players that played their sport have different insights that the common fan would not know or think of or see. So I welcome him back. I'm glad to have him back. Right, Am I a Dallas Cowboy fan? No, but hey. I don't have to be to enjoy his insights and his, talking about the NFL.
How would you be a fan of a team?
I enjoy good conversations about.
How would you be a fan of a team that your team routinely used to kill? But anyway, and they still might do it with Jordan Love, So
you never know.
You did it. You did it, Candy. You did it, Candy. It's like I mean, there's nothing I can be able to say. It's like except that the Bears are embarrassing. Here's the deal. Jordan Love can have a horrible time and prove me right the rest of the games, but it just shows whatsoever the Bears have a phenomenally bad infrastructure, and they're not getting around until they figure the infrastructure out. They're going to be horrible.
I wasn't going to go there, Jacob, either.
I'll say this much, and this just goes to prove it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Candy, do you remember a game 10 years ago at Jerry World? And Matt freaking Flynn was quarterback. The Packers erased a 23-point lead. The Cowboys were up double digits in the fourth quarter and came back and won the game. So it doesn't even matter who's at quarterback for.
Then the next week he starts. He gets like 3 picks in the first half.
Then against the Lions, he throws what was it? A Packers record 6 touchdowns?
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm. So but no, I'm bringing this part. We already know what the Stephen A. Smith versus Michael Irvin debate sounds like. See, we're going to go like this. The Cowboys will never cease to fail. And I'll tell you why. Versus, how about them Cowboys? And I'm not good at the voices, but I'm saying that's exactly. And then the Stephen A. is going to be like this. Yeah, and it's just that's gonna be every single time whatsoever. He's gonna put his little sticker on there, remind him that he's not Skip. Yeah. he's gonna do that. Stephen A. is a personality, but the biggest deal in the situation is you got to remember. I had 11,000 views on the only time I ever had a real big. I have some thousands, but in my TikTok over this. 11,000. And most of the vast majority, I got a lot of comments. The vast majority agreed with me. They knew she was lying. They knew she was absolutely lying, And the problem we have is she's not getting arrested. She's not going to pay the price for this. Everybody's so scared to hold anybody accountable for something like this because there are women out there that truly have this problem.
Right.
There are. But it's like this is not going to help the women that really have the problem. They're not going to get believed as long as there's women that will do this. And then what does this do for Michael Irvin? He's going to be seriously standoffish unless he knows you. Like to the general public. He's going to be seriously because he's going to be afraid. Everybody's going to call the people that don't know the story. They're going to be like, oh, he's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. They don't realize the situation. He's going to be afraid to say anything now to anyone. And he's the friendly guy. And when do we stop the lying? When do we stop everything on this? And you know something? It never will, because internet takes over this world. They all have got so many of these people, especially someone like that woman who did lie, and she did lie. All of this, they have more social media followers than they have friends by a billion over. They don't know how to talk to people for real. I mean, he might have been joking and then taking that thing. All of the whole deal, this is exactly, and you know this, Denzel. You know this thing big time. This is what happens when you don't talk to people enough. You don't simply go out to like a pool bar and go play pool. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to, you go out and you go to a pool tournament or something and just talk to people.
Right.
Just go to the thing, go have a beer, go have anything. People don't do it because they're stuck on that phone all the time, and so no one understands what it is between a joke and having a little fun and getting all that stuff. Which is why I've always said, like I said it from earlier, that we can't worry what the thing that's not offensive is offensive. We can't worry about it because the internet has told us it's offensive. Human beings will say not. So you can't worry about it. You just got to go on with your life, and whatever their thing, you got to make them look the fool for getting offended. And it's just like, because if we don't do that, we're going to have more Michael Irvin situations and do all this. They got to be made the fool, not him. Yep. And I'm for Michael Irvin. You caught me on that thing. As I said, I'm not going to say 11,000 is a big time amount. That's just the most I've ever had. But it just shows how much of a nerve this caught with people. They knew she was lying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I might touch some nerves with this one, but it's truth and it has to be said. The narrative of believe all women, we all know is false deep down. Y'all know who Juanetta Gibson is?
Who?
Juanetta Gibson.
Yeah, I know the name, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's the woman who set up Brian Banks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's people like her. There have been countless incidents across the country of college players having lost their scholarships, kicked off the football team because of lying. Because they go out and they lie, and when they lie, they don't realize, or sometimes they do realize, they know what they're doing, that they're ruining these people's lives. You know what I mean? And like Jacob said, it's harder. It makes it harder for the ones that this really happened to. Okay? So the narrative of believe all women needs to stop, because we all have known or witnessed a vengeful woman lying to try to ruin somebody. And everyone knows, even if he's proven innocent in court, he's guilty by public opinion months before he even reaches court. You see what I mean?
But public opinion has become the internet, which is why you can't worry about public opinion at all. Because 2% of the internet's the loudest 2% in the world. The rest of them are going to see you. It's the whole basics of Frank Sinatra from back in the day, who didn't have internet during the time he was alive. Not really. You know what I'm saying? You know how many stories there are of him that he looked through a newspaper every single day, trying to find, oh my God, they lost their house in a fire. Send this money. Just don't tell them who it came from. So many times. He gave away millions and still lived like a king. Gave away millions, helped his friends, did all that stuff. Would the media say anything? No, they were all on the idea of the mob and all that kind of stuff like that. But the thing is, it would be a pure war and destruction if he was in the internet times.
Yeah.
If he was in his prime in the internet time, it'd be war and destruction, because that is exactly what the internet aims to do. Is just why I say we must not worry about what others say, because the others is the internet.
Yeah.
We've got to know. Our friends got to know. Our loved ones got to know. People at Sideline and South Florida Tribune got to know. They all have to know us. They got to be the important ones. Mm-hmm. We got to be brothers, sisters, everything. Otherwise, if we just keep listening and worrying about what others say, it's like all of this thing is causing so much mental health, strife, everything. It causes all this because people just worry about what's going on with people that they've never seen before.
Yeah, this is true. You know, the only issue with that is whenever you have somebody who's a personality and accusations make them lose deals and millions of dollars in, like, you know, their revenue. And even after they get proven innocent, that's money that they still will never get back.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfair. It's unfair. That's why slowly you're starting to see laws change around this country that are holding. There actually was a incident up in New York State where a girl had falsely accused two men of that very thing, and they were kicked off the football team and they lost their scholarships. Come to find out, she was cheating on her boyfriend. And she tried to say that in order to cover up for it. She was found to be lying, and she actually did a year in jail. So it actually is, there are laws around the country that are countering this, paternity fraud, among other things. So the tide is indeed changing. But let's go on to a female we all can be proud of. And that's Miss Coco Gauff. So to those of y'all who missed it, and this is going to be a young inspiration for years and years to come, she won the U.S. Open. She won as the 6th seed. She defeated Aryna Sabalenka, who was the 2 seed, actually. Now, here's the thing. This win alone, throughout like various deals and everything, is netting her $11 million in earnings, making her, at 19 years of age, one of the world's richest female athletes. Jordan, give us your thoughts about Miss Coco Gauff and her big win.
You know, I'm excited for Coco Gauff because you look at the United States, especially in women's tennis, it was always Serena and Venus. Now we have the young guns of, you know, Coco Gauff. I mean, before this, she only went to the French Open, and actually this was this past year, and lost in the finals. Now she wins it. I mean, we're looking at a young superstar. I'm not going to put her in the conversation of Venus or Serena, but once the tennis season starts up again next year, especially with the Australian Open, I'm going to be watching because I want her to win. It just gives excitement back to you, especially for women's tennis here in the United States. It just gives that excitement again.
You know what? I can't recall any period in history, as long as I've been alive, where women's tennis has had a slow period. Because, you know, you had the Billie Jean Kings and everything from the 70s. And then, you know, you go into the 80s and early 90s, and you've had the Steffi Grafs, Martina Navratilova, and everybody else. Yeah, you know, and then you go on to the Williams sisters and like everybody else. And now you got like Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka, whenever she returns and everything. I can't recall a time period where women's tennis was legitimately boring. No slow time periods at all. So this is quite the time for women's tennis. But I want to swing it over to Candy because I know you got some good words for us. Pastor Candy, come on with the good word.
How exciting is it to be in South Florida? Yet again, we had, let's face it, we had Final Four, we had FAU, we've got Coco Gauff is from Deerfield Beach, Florida, which is right where I live. How exciting is that? And listen to this. Coco Gauff's U.S. Open victory draws a record 3.4 million viewers, 1.1 million more than the men's final with Novak Djokovic. It's a 92% increase in viewership from last year's women's U.S. Open final. That is ridiculous. That is so much more. It is so exciting to see because let's face it, there isn't even very many men, American men, that were playing in the finals in men's tennis. So it's really exciting to see a United States athlete in tennis finishing first.
Yeah.
It has propelled her to number 3 now in the world, which is cool for a 19-year-old. I don't know what you guys were all doing when you were 19, but to be able to say, you know, you won a championship and got paid. And a fan asked her, well, what are you going to do with your winnings? Are you going to pay off your debt? And she's like, well, what debt? I still live at home. I don't have student loans. That's all money, free and clear, that's hers to use. All I have to say to her is I hope she gets a good investment person that helps her invest it, that she doesn't blow it and go broke.
She's got LeBron behind her. She'll get it. She'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll be just fine. You know what I mean? And it's funny you mentioned. You know what? More often than not, as far as tennis goes, as far as American tennis players, it's always been female heavy. I mean, look at the last like 20, 30 something years. For the men's side, all the good players were born outside the United States.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Agassi, maybe.
Well,
yeah, I was just going to say Andre Agassi or Pete Sampras.
Sampras, yeah.
No, this new kid, Shelton. This new kid, Shelton, looks something because he's got that big serve. But other than that, and I wanted to bring this part. Once I get bigger, I already have a billion. I already have a billion receipts of tweets that they're going to catch me. I already know. I'm just admitting them. That's what I do here. I admit what I say because they can go find them when that time comes, and because you're going to remember I said it. But 4 some odd years ago, I literally did say on Twitter, they were all talking about, this is before COVID, okay? They were all talking about getting her. This is one of her first times in Grand Slam. I was hoping and praying she was 15 years old, that she would not make it. And it had nothing to do with her because her game was gorgeous. Had nothing to do with her. It was the fact that we were right smack dab in the middle of the media firestorm of you know what. We can name the time. We're in the media firestorms, all that kind of stuff like that. And they would just envelop her and root for and then try to tear down, just like they did with Naomi Osaka. Naomi Osaka, how many of the Grand Slams? And then it went, she's gone because of that mental state. It's exactly what I knew what would happen to Coco Gauff if she won too early. I didn't want her to win Grand Slams before. I said, after an adult, awesome. And guess what? How right was I? She's 19, old enough to handle them, sounds great with them, and she has confidence. And it's like, and it's not going to halt to a stop like it. I don't think it's going to halt to a stop like it did with Naomi Osaka, and I don't think it's going to at all like it did with her. Period. I think she's ready. I think it would have halted to a stop if she did it too early. And that's the thing I've tried to bring with everything. It is the whole idea that you got to build a story towards somebody's color instead of how good they are. Mm-hmm. And do you want to know something? In the middle of 2023, do you want to know what these people talked about? Her winning it? Coco Gauff won the U.S. Open. Yep. The first American woman or whatever, the American woman. You want to know who brought up her being black? Bunch of 70, 80 person accounts. Bunch of 70, 80 person accounts. Maybe somebody from like a tennis thing or something that wanted a thing. Maybe it was Touré or something. Maybe it was Touré, that you see on MSNBC. He's on Tennis Channel also. Maybe he brought it up a little bit. Nothing important. It was never an important thing. The important deal was a female won the whole thing. Someone did it for the first time, which is a story that should always be. It should always be. When we finally see Shelton do it, when we see when we see Shelton do it, when we see any other African Americans win it. And I'm saying this, everybody. I am. When they win it, they need to be men and women. Mm-hmm. They need to be men and women. They've won. What did Morgan Freeman say? What did Morgan Freeman say when they asked him about it? It's like Don Lemon asked him about it, and he kept trying to shut Don Lemon down. It's like the biggest thing. And I was like, no, I'm not a black man. I'm saying that, Denzel. I'm not a black man. But I'm also somebody who's trying to make the world men and women, everybody. I talk to every child when I work, wherever I work. I talk to every child. I mean, it can be a young black girl or a little white kid, a white boy. And I'll say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I mean, I'll hear these girls will say, I want to be an engineer. They're like 9 years old. And it's like, they're like 9 years old. You know what I say? Go up. Dream to be president. President of the United States. Little black girl. Dream to be president. I say that. Dream it. I say go up. I say it to the boy. But I don't say it to the black girl just for a whole pandering thing. I say it to the little white boy too. The little white rich boy that's from a country club. I say it to him too. Because the way the internet has gone, we've hit to this point where everybody plays victim. Everybody plays victim on something. Get this new generation out there and say, no victims. know everything. We're going to get a real conversation going. We're going to stop this hate. We're going to stop this hate. And I mean, I want to know from what you think of this, Denzel. I want to hear from you because this comes toward it.
Because, and you know, an excellent commentary, you know, as usual on this one. The only thing that I have to say is that there are just some things, and I get it, you know, you want to take away the identification label, you know, but there are just some things that they're still going to attach an identification to it as far as that goes. So when Halle Berry won Best Actress in 2001 for Monsters Ball, what did it get tagged? The first black actress to win Best Actress, you know? Or okay, on Top Rope Talk, me and you. What happened with Ron Simmons? The first black world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
You know, my point is this. How many people in history, I'm talking about from the Jim Crow era on, how many black Americans were that talented but were robbed because of the color of their skin?
So many of them.
That's the reason why they're still identified as the first black. You see what I mean?
And
this is where we're coming from. And you all have seen it throughout your lives. And you all are understanding bunch. Absolutely. You know, it's just like, how many of you have seen an African American, a black, reach a milestone? They were the first black person to do it and thought to yourselves, this should have been happened. This was years too late.
Many. And it's like we're still only had 4 the all-time as far as the Oscars all-time lead. It's like sorry.
Okay.
I mean, we still have 4 all-time leading like black all-time actors like in Oscars. You know, the big movie role, the big movie one. You know what I'm saying?
There's more and more of them coming up now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying we only have 4.
It isn't just Denzel, Eddie Murphy, and Will Smith anymore. But go ahead.
No, I'm saying we've only had 4 that won the big one to this day. I mean, Hattie McDaniel, I know I think Halle Berry was 1, you know, I believe. But I think there's 2 more. But I mean, I think Viola Davis.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah. But, I mean, all 4. Yeah, you're right. That's 4. I think Viola Davis, but I'm like, that's it. That is it. We are still there. But this is my thing. Where it stops is us. Us, all of us. We go. As I said, it can be the little black girl or even the rich white boy. We don't stop anywhere like the internet says to do. We don't stop anywhere. We go to all. We go to all, and we tell them all to dream. When they see this, when we see that everybody is going to dream, then they start talking to each other. Then we stop all this.
Right.
We stop it. It's like you gotta tell the little girl that wants to be the little black girl that wants to be the engineer. Keep dreaming higher. You tell the boy too. You tell them the same. You give them. That is where even happens. That is where even happens. That is where it goes. And it starts with us. There's a lot of hate out there still, a lot of stupidity. But it starts with that. We don't say you can't do it.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be a couple more generations before this all goes, but it's got to start there.
It does. Absolutely. I'll just check the time, and we have about 6 minutes left. So we do have to get on to our last topic, and that is Mac Brown and his comments at the University of North Carolina. He actually was recently critical of the NCAA board of directors after they had denied a transfer waiver for wide receiver Tez Walker. Tez Walker actually had wanted to transfer to he wanted to be closer to home in North Carolina. But the NCAA stated that 21,685 student athletes entered the transfer portal this year. Mac Brown had levied some pretty hellacious comments toward the NCAA. He said, I don't know if I've ever been more disappointed in a person, group of people, or an institution than I am with the NCAA right now. It's clear the NCAA is about process and couldn't care less about the young people it's supposed to be supporting. Mac Brown, okay, I'm going to say this real quick, and then I'm going to pass it to Jordan Long here, okay? The NCAA has never given a damn about student athletes, period. Let's get that out of the way, because we are just crossing the bridge over them actually getting paid. You know what I mean? If they cared about their students, that would have happened a long time ago. a long time ago, especially when you consider the revenue that March Madness pulls in annually. When you consider the revenue that the college football playoffs pull in annually, even the revenue of the College World Series. You know, these students make them money and they get scraps. Well, at one point in time, they got nothing. You know, NCAA has never cared about the students. Period. Never cared about the student athletes. But I want to swing it over to Jordan Long. Do you think his comments were justified?
Well, I have to agree with you, Jay or Danzel, because of the fact of the matter is the NCAA has not cared about student athletes. I remember, I want to say in the early 2000s, CU had a guy, Jeremy Bloom, who was making money from skiing, got to play a couple of years, but then one year the NCAA is like, oh, you're making money, we can't allow you to play. I think honestly the NCAA should worry about themselves. They're already making a ton of money with all, we see it in college football with the TV contracts, March Madness. They should have allowed this guy to transfer to play, because I thought the point of the transfer portal was to go to a school you wanted to play at. Now I'm really confused on what they're doing with the rules. It just doesn't make sense. But the NCAA doesn't care. They're their own entity. They care about themselves. They don't care about student athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then real quick, Candy, your thoughts on this one?
One of the things that Brown said is there was a lack of judgment, not because of the transfer rule. When you start looking at the transfer rule, we're not dissatisfied with it. We're dissatisfied with the committee reviewing the waiver, because Tez's situation is different. He should be treated like a one-time transfer.
True.
And here's the problem with the NCAA. They don't go and tell this person, oh, you can't do this. They tell the coach or the college, you can't do that. Now you go tell that individual player that he can't transfer or he can't do this. So they don't have an individualistic viewpoint that they have to, contend with the person that wanted to transfer. They don't go and talk to them and tell them. They make somebody else do it. So how personal is it to them? That's the problem with the NCAA. They don't look at the person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Jacob.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah. See, you want to know why? And they said that how many of these 21,600 and however many, 85 or whatever, their transfer portal, how many get through? Like 21,684. You want to know why this didn't get through? It's because Mac Brown's talked about this before. Period. This is just vengeance. It's stupid. They don't care about student athletes. It's the whole thing. It is politics again. I can say this. I'll say it. We had 21,685. Like I promise you, close to 21,684 made it through their transfer. They chose Mac Brown to say no. Period. They end of story. And it's like, and they were saying to myself, this kid that had mental issues, that had mental illness issues he was really nervous and nervous breakdowns over at Kent State. And he wanted to be close to home with mom and dad. And so now what they did, and it's like, really, now he's probably going to be living at home with mom and dad if this keeps happening. But it's like, now there's a question, would the NCAA lead, would the UNC lead the NCAA? Here is the truth to everything. The NAIA still exists.
Yes, it does. ACU came from there.
Yes.
Alma mater.
NAIA still exists. Why wouldn't UNC make it bigger? Why wouldn't they join it and make it bigger? Why wouldn't other schools do that? And then how long before the NAIA gets a huge TV deal? Huge TV deal. Out of all of that, 5 years? I mean, it could be a streaming deal, whatever. Right now, the NAIA is basically streaming online. That's all it is. I mean, my school, Lee University, came from NAIA, went to NCAA Division II. But it's like, but I'm saying, how long before people want to go back to NAIA? And it's like, that sounds nuts now because NCAA gets billions. But how long did we have for most of this stuff. I'm saying we're from a world where Donald Trump's president of the United States for 4 years.
Yeah.
No one would have seen that coming. We had a massive COVID where it kept people locked in for 2 years if they chose to, but it was still a big sickness that was legit. It's something that you would see in movies happened. Who's to say this billion-dollar industry can't sink down and an NAIA show up? It still exists. And then how long before that? And these are the things. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility now, especially when NCAA has gone insane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that part about Trump. He was president of the United States. You want to know where he was 10 years prior to that? He was in a hair versus hair match at WrestleMania.
Yes.
That just goes to show you no one saw this coming at all.
No.
But we are at a time on the show. We have to get to the Sports Exchange. So I want to swing it over to the president of Tribune University herself, Miss Candy Ebling, to take us out of here.
She's emeritus.
Well, everybody, this has been a great show. I'm going to tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and then I'll sign off. Jordan, go first.
You can find me at SportsCube1 on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. I have a blog that I write Mondays through Fridays with a podcast, sometimes on Fridays. I also have my own show called Unreview, and I will put that on Twitter days and times. But it's my take on Colorado sports with national sports stories as well.
Denzel, how can we find you?
Well, I will be on Sports Exchange coming up next. Also, check out Confidential later on, right after Sports Exchange, as a matter of fact, on the Sideline Sports Network. Pundit Thursdays. We're back to Thursdays next week. Gauntlet on Fridays. Top Rope Talk, myself and Jacob Pristner on Mondays. We did a special episode on last night, so definitely go and check that out. And then I think sometime next week we're actually going to do another historical match commentary. So keep those in mind. And also I'm at NEL13 on Twitter.
Jacob.
She's told most of our stuff, and I are on them mostly. So it's like I'm just going to go with my stuff. I am at Jake the Pundit on Twitter, where I am completely shy and no one knows I'm there. Then I am Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok, which I've just hit 1,000, and I'm going to continue to work on getting more followers. And then I am on Patreon. I'm working on that, Jake the Pundit. Working on my Substack. Working on the Ricochet. Working on all kinds of different deals, and I'm also just wanted to let you know this, Denzel, because you're a video game guy. Got an idea. I wanted to tell you this. Got an idea for a thing on basically on Twitch, a TV thing on Twitch based off of the history of the video games by playing them.
Sweet.
Starting, it could be you and I. We could even do it and stuff like that. It would go on emulators, and it could start with Pong.
Oh, awesome. I'm with
it. Keep going. And it's like, it's an idea. I wanted to put it on Twitch, and I was going to tell you about it. So I figured I'd give you my little secret right now.
Hey, you know what? Hey, and since we're on the topic of that right before we end the show, on a pretty good note, to those of you all who are retro gamers, this little item right here is called a Pow Kitty. I got this off of Amazon. for $163. Get this. Spanning multiple systems, 19,000 games. It'll be the best 163 you've ever spent. It's on Amazon right now. I'm talking NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Sega Master, Sega CD, Neo Geo, Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Color, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Pocket, anything, PS1.
I don't think we can hook it up though. You
know what? I'm still trying to figure a little bit of it out to see if it can hook up to a TV. But listen, it's a really great investment. And arcade classics on there also. So, all the old school side scroll beat 'em ups, Contras, all of that. So it's a great investment. You all go check it out.
Awesome. And that's going to be it. So you love my idea, obviously. No problem. Well, just wanted to say this. We're going on to Sports Exchange. Most of us are going on to say, Jordan, thank you for tonight. You did a great job.
Of course.
And you'll be around, everything like that. For Candy, thank you for that. We'll be seeing the regular 2 the next week. Appreciate your time, Candy. for the Denzel, the sniper, the pundit, Jordan and Candy. This was the pundit's pundit.
Don't forget, everybody, the audio version of this can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit that red subscribe button for South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Also, comment, like, and share this broadcast and any others. But go right, stay tuned to the South Florida Tribune as Sports Exchange comes up next. And we missed Scott and George tonight, but they'll be back next week. We hope you guys all have a good week, and thanks for chiming in. And thanks, guys, for letting me chime in tonight, being on the program. Bye, everybody.